All right. Hey, friends, it's me, Peter Bowden, here with another digital strategy session related to really our preparations and responses related to the COVID-19 coronavirus. So today, let me just adjust my window. Uh, in this session, I'm going to talk about how small group ministry models can be used online in a way to support your work in ministry. Um, so, um, Yeah, first, I just want to say thank you for being here. Everybody is working overtime. There's more meetings, there's more to do, there's more anxiety. And so, as leaders, we have to be really intentional about keeping our energy up, staying grounded. Just know when we're in times of stress and like fighting, that suppresses our immune system. So, just please make sure you're making time for yourself, just to take care of yourself, the extra meditation, whatever it is. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I am Peter Bowden. I'm your friendly neighborhood Unitarian Universalist ministry and media consultant. I've been working with our congregations for years on digital strategy and congregational growth, outreach, etc., including small group ministry. I want to tell you things that I want to cover in this session, specifically how taking small group models, like we have people gather in small groups, intentionally in small groups within a congregation, bringing that online via Zoom meetings, different Zoom features, though you could do other technology. They still have Google Hangouts. Anyhow, Zoom groups, that can really be powerful, not only for your congregation and your community in this present public health crisis, and our required social distancing and possible closures. And I see that closures happening all over like the last 24 hours. But that is really going to help your ministry long term. Okay, so the approach I'm going to share, and I'm going to go really, really fast because this is recorded and you can always go back. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're ready for me to go super, super fast. And if you have questions, you know how to reach me. Okay. And if you do not have an existing program, a small group ministry program of any kind, that's okay. Because there are things that you can do, and I'll mention this, that you can do now and put into place now to be of support to your congregation, your members and friends, support your pastoral care, etc. And it doesn't matter if you haven't done anything previously. So first, my credentials with small group ministry. Lifelong Unitarian Universalist, grew up at the First Unitarian Church of Providence. There I taught, volunteered, became a youth advisor, and by studying Christian youth ministry models, I got totally turned on to small groups as a way to do spiritual exploration. Just models from other denominations, and really looked at how do we take great small group practices for spiritual exploration and put it into practice in the context of Unitarian Universalism, it's my denomination, and then specifically for me, youth groups and then young adult groups, then really help popularize that approach within our movement nationally. I started the UU Small Group Ministry Network in 2001 as a website, and then relaunched it with some collaboration of others, Calvin Dame, Reverend Dr. Mellon Kennedy, others as a UUA affiliate organization. So it's like 15 years of hands-on practice with small group ministry. And that the small group stuff led to how do we welcome people into congregations, congregational growth. And then as the digital stuff, social media came out, I started integrating all that. So one of the hallmarks of my work with congregations is trying to integrate different ministry areas. And we're being challenged to do that now. Like all the things that you're trying to figure out how to do online, we're having to figure out how to weave these things together. So first, what is small group ministry? Real quick, small group ministry is a way to take your congregation and create ongoing opportunities for people to gather in small groups, often of 8 to 10 people, in an ongoing fashion. Some congregations set it up in semesters. Some do have like people be in groups for a year and then people mix up. Other groups go on year after year. But the most important thing is that we're meeting in small groups in a way where we have facilitation of group group facilitators who are connected with your ministry team. So the group is really part of your congregation's ministry, your ministry systems, your ministry leadership, not just off in isolation, okay? It's integrated into what you're doing. The content of which you're exploring in small groups, session topics, themes, are being informed by your religious leadership, informed by the people working with that program. They're great resources, sessions at the smallgroupministry.net website, smallgroupministry.net. That's the UU Small Group Ministry Network, like hundreds of sessions. And then within that small group session, often meeting for an hour and a half to 2 hours, people have the chance to have opening ritual, to check in, to share personally about their lives. Think about that in this coronavirus context, but then to explore some topic. Okay, so a lot of you have small group ministry experience. Just know that by having people gather in small groups, we have intimacy, we have connection, we have community, we have leadership development, we have communication between groups leaders, and your team, so that you can be more in touch with people's needs. Communication is stronger and deeper. And with a jamming small group ministry, we know how people are doing. Okay, people aren't in isolation. So as we move forward with the coronavirus, social isolation, all these things, imagine this. And I'm going to go into some specific practices I think you could use, like ways to implement this. But I've had a lot of people, colleagues, ask me, like, Peter, what would I do right now given what's going on? Especially those of you who are trying to replicate worship. Like, think about a worship service, trying to move that online. That's really hard. I would not make that my first priority, to replicate your full congregational worship. Here's what I would do. Let's pretend I'm either minister, top staff person, and a fellowship, the person coordinating your services. All right. If you're like a primary leader of your congregation, what I would do, and this requires you start playing with video, and you need to do that early in the week on Tuesday, I'll go live on my Facebook page for the congregation and say, first, share a little bit about what's going on, connect with people personally, and then share, this is what we're talking about this weekend, okay? And you give people, a preview. You tell them why that issue is important. Now, just forgetting the coronavirus, like whatever your regular topics are, imagine we're meeting in this way for weeks and weeks and weeks. Early in the week, you go on live on video and you tell people what you're going to be exploring that weekend. You share why. You share some of the things you're thinking about. Now, you don't have to have your sermon, your message fully developed. This is your Tuesday preview. You can always tweak the days, all right? But your Tuesday preview, and you're doing it live on video because, one, there's more interaction. People who are stuck at home, they want to be able to interact with you live. And if you're live and people are commenting and you're seeing those comments, you can answer questions, okay? Interaction now is critical. So Tuesday, I'd go online, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes if I'm answering questions, not much longer than that, and give people a preview. So say, I'm gonna make something up. Suppose I'm saying this Sunday, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, a lot of people are now having to deal with social distancing, social isolation. And we're going to talk about how we in our lives, thanks to technology, just over time, have actually set up lives where we are socially isolated. So we're going to talk about connection, community building, digital, face-to-face, So you kind of give people that. Now, in addition to that, you ask people questions about their experiences, ask people to share stories, if there are articles, whatever related to your theme, you ask them to share. Why? You get your congregation doing research for you. You have people sharing little stories. So all of a sudden you realize, oh, Jackie has this great testimonial, or so-and-so went to Tibet and did this, whatever it is. So you're learning, you're interacting. And if you're doing it on Facebook, the Facebook algorithm, if people aren't commenting, the algorithm thinks nobody cares about your church. They stop showing your Facebook posts and nobody knows what the heck you're doing at church. So you have, or your congregation. So you have to get people interacting. Those of you who are going all in on Zoom, you could also do that via a scheduled little Zoom session. All right, now midweek, what do I do? Wednesday, Thursday, I'd be sharing content about your service. So if you're talking social isolation, I'm sharing TED Talks about that theme, articles I'm reading, and your core leadership through your Facebook page or other social media channels or email saying, hey, we're getting ready for this weekend. Here's some of the things we're looking at. Check out these resources, share with friends, invite them to participate. Okay, what does that do? You're not hoarding information until your service. You're getting people engaged, okay? People stuck at home, you're giving them things to look at. Every post you share, like, oh, here's the video that you're referencing on the weekend. You're letting people see that now. Gives them something to do. Give people content related to your congregation's focus for that week to engage with. A lot of you have Facebook groups for your congregation. You should now, because Facebook is prioritizing groups over pages. Use those groups to get people talking. Say, hey, here's the video, here's the article I'm going to be talking about later on. Let us know what you think. Okay. Now, I know what you're asking. Peter, we can't gather. If we can't gather, what is happening on Sunday, right? Right? Yes. Okay. So what I would do is on the week, as you get right up to Friday. Now, this is still in my vision where you're not trying to fully replicate your worship services. Friday, or like as we're getting into the weekend, that's when I would go on video and share your core reflection as minister or whatever leader for that week. Share your insight on the topic, share your stories, connect, all those things, and ask people, have a few questions that they can engage with. And some of you may realize what I'm talking about is basically like a small group ministry session. Like, I'm going online, maybe I'm greeting people, but I'm saying, hey, here, you have your reflection for that week, and share your personal reflection. Not like you're preaching to a big room and like it's projected somewhere. No, it's like you're meeting with a parishioner and sharing, or meeting with a friend. Very relational like this, right? So if you do that, all right, now you've got this core bit of content, like the equivalent of what would have been your sermon, but on video, and people have been commenting and whatnot. During your Sunday morning worship time, if you can't meet for worship in your congregation because of all the stuff we're dealing with, that is when I would have my congregation break into online small groups, Zoom groups, Zoom meetings, etc., and have it be like everyone's coming together. Say it's Sunday from 10 to 11 or so in small groups. Okay. Now, in our small groups, we have ritual, we have worship, we have sharing. And also, if you have shown up as a leader and provided some core leadership, you've provided content, you've shared a personal reflection, which people can watch in advance, and you've shared other resources, when people come together, you've got a small group session for your groups to explore. And I think as I've watched congregations go through different ministerial transition and different times, small groups end up being lifeboats for people. And no matter how challenging things get in life, in the congregation, the small groups are this amazing foundation. So I think if and whether you use this model I just mapped out, where you're doing like early in the week, here's what's going on, and then here are resources, things to check out, content to engage with, and then here are my reflections, and then let's get on Zoom as in groups and talk. You could play with that. Maybe you integrate that with actually doing a live worship service online. The Church of the Larger Fellowship is talking about their knowledge, experience, tips for connection in online worship tomorrow, Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you check that out. I'll be sharing that. So however you do it, I just want you to think about the fact that for people at home, people stuck at home, if you can put them in a small group where they're meeting with a handful of other people, even if it's for, say, 45 minutes at a time, face-to-face on video, and you're using the small group ministry model, the process, the structure that we use in our small group ministries just generally, you are actually giving them the small group experience that's at the heart of many of our congregations' lives. And so one of the powerful things about that is that you aren't creating something different, that like an online worship, and there's value in that, but you're not creating, don't jump on me. You're not creating something that's so totally different from congregational life as it normally exists while we're dealing with this virus issue and then going back to normal life. You're giving people an experience that's at the heart of our ministry. The heart of like all thriving, jamming, growing congregations is a fantastic small group-based ministry. And if you can give that to people, I'm telling you, that is going to serve them. If you have facilitators in those groups, or at least point people who could be communicating with you with appropriate permissions, and you need to talk to them as a team, that's going to help you stay connected to your congregation's members and friends. Now, if you have existing small groups, you can get them set up so that, say you queue them up for this weekend group meeting, or maybe it's happening at a different time, and then they meet via a Zoom meeting, like all on video. If you use, what I would do is like keep think about a larger process where you're getting people thinking about a topic in advance, you're giving them content, you're sharing a small group session, but keep it a session that can be done in a shorter period of time, like 45 minutes. One of the nice things about that is if you keep it short, the free level of Zoom will let a bunch of people meet on video for that duration of time. I think it's 45 minutes. Let me just pull up. What are they? Let's see. Zoom. All right. 40 minutes. All right. You can do 40 minutes without an upgrade. Now, I'll tell you a story. One of the things that I do with congregations is help them launch small group ministries and reboot them. And one of the favorite things I do is go into a congregation, lead a service with their ministry team, with the minister or other, and then during the core service, I do my pitch on small group ministry, get everyone jazzed to participate in a sample small group during your coffee hour. All right. And then I'll take the whole congregation. Actually, we'll take over a congregation when they have, like, with their permission. And instead of coffee hour, like, everyone gets coffee real quick. And then everyone goes and has a sample small group session, which looks like this. People start coming back into the room. Maybe they have their coffee, maybe they don't. If it's a congregation where you can't bring coffee into the sanctuary, I know that's sad. But people come back in, and I just put them into circles of five people. And I give them a script, a simple session designed so that like almost anyone could facilitate the group if they can read. Okay. Like that's kind of like what I'm aiming for. And I ask, is there someone who'd be willing to read this session? And it goes something like this: opening reading. And it's like, and I include instructions. Read the opening reading. It's like, it's not that people are stupid. You just want to make it easy. Read the opening reading. And here it is. Then invite people to introduce themselves, sharing their name and something about them. 5 minutes max. All right, they do that. Then you want to have content that's very easy, especially if you're starting out. So in this context, where it's just a sample, I always do this question. In 5 minutes per person or less, share the story of how you came to be in the congregation. That works for newcomers. That works for the people who've been there 50 years. And as I've done that, there's always laughter, there's tears, there's hugs. This one woman, where was I? I think it was, Plano, Texas. Patrick, I'm thinking of you. In Plano, Texas, this woman, I get this story after the fact, ends up, this woman came to the service the first time when I was working with a congregation to strengthen their small group ministry. So I did the sample session after the service, 45 minutes. So she was in a circle of 5. I do only 5 people because you can do a short session, 45 minutes with that number of people, and everyone can share, and the timing's length. It's too much with more people. So 5 people. She like, over those 45 minutes, she shared her story. The other 4 people shared their stories. And then I guess the next week, this is what I heard later on, when she came with her family, because she had been there the week before scoping it out. People do that. Our husbands saw her come in, and people are like, first in the small group, people are like, oh no, what, are you coming on Sunday? Or like, I haven't met you. And she let them know it was her first time, of course, because that was the prompt. And they're like, oh, you have to come on Sunday. So like within that small group, they're like, come back, come back. We can't wait to see you next Sunday. So when she came with the husband, they start going in, and like one person's like, oh, hey, there you are. Oh, I wanted to introduce you to so and so. And then this other person's coming over, and he's like, gets all annoyed, and he's like, what the hell happened last week? What makes you the queen of the freaking church? All right. And I loved it because, like, in one session, just sharing your most basic story of how you came to be in the congregation, the depth of conversation, I mean, of connection was so significant. Everyone feels known, affirmed. Okay. So now I share that because if you do something online with Zoom groups, having 5 people and taking a short amount of time, like the 40 minutes that you can do via free Zoom, a free Zoom account, you can have massive value there, especially if you streamline your sessions. Now you can do things with you have like there are like higher level paid plans where you can have lots of people in your meetings, and you can break people into small groups. So you might consider doing something like this. I mean, so you have to, pay obviously. If you have people gather, come together. So a lot of congregations, especially in the larger Christian church world, will do big events where they bring people together and they get them, organized into small groups so that everyone can go and be in their small groups and meet outside of the congregation. What you could do is say, heck, all right, at this time, say it's Sunday during your regular worship time, or it's another time if you're using different model. You could say, at this time, we're having I want to say, people in your existing small groups, you could have all those people meet in small group gatherings via Zoom. Just do what they're normally doing, but do it via Zoom. So everyone who's in a small group already, they're set. Everyone who isn't, you promote the heck out of being connected in a small group. Share why. It's like, so it's all the promotion resources on the Small Group Ministry Network website and that you use already. Use that, but beef it up for the COVID-19 season. And then you have everybody gather. You have your leaders share via the Zoom meeting or webinar, depending on how you structure it. I have to look at those account levels, and share it, why it matters, why we're here. Affirm that even though we're online, we're a community, and today we're doing introductions with each other and talking, just checking in on whatever you choose, and then you can click a button within Zoom and push everyone into small groups where all of a sudden, and you can say, put people into groups of 2, 4, 5, whatever you want. So say I'd do 5 groups if it was me. Say you're breaking 100 people into groups of 5. You can click the button and boom, everyone's suddenly in private Zoom groups. Amazing. Now, if you do that, you have to make sure that you have things structured where you've given people instructions so that they know what they're going to do. People know that it's like, all right, we're going to answer these questions and follow this process and make it so that the group can facilitate itself. You can also, with the Zoom groups, the Zoom breakout groups, you can pre-assign people if you have them register in advance, which you could do, is break them into small groups in advance where you say, this person's here. To do that, if you already have a Zoom account, you have to go into your Zoom meeting settings, then go to the advanced settings, and then activate the small breakout group feature. Okay, and then you can do that. So whether you're having existing members meet and friends meet in their groups, just off, in their little Zoom meetings, however, or you're doing a big congregational event, I think that you're going to get a lot of mileage and just strategic benefit by prioritizing, of all the things that you're trying to move online, prioritizing your small group gatherings. So with that, I'm going to wrap up, and I want to let you know that I am just going to keep periodically sharing, whether it's weekly or I don't know, sharing different digital ministry strategy sessions in the context of this present coronavirus crisis, public health crisis. And I welcome you to be in touch with me if you have questions, and then I can do some Q&A things. Of course, I'm always doing private Zoom coaching sessions with congregations. You can just email me, and if that's something you want to do, we can set it up. So with that, how long have we gone here? I'm getting ready for a cup of coffee. Must be time to go. So think about small groups. Review this with your team if you're curious. Make sure Zoom, if you don't have the small group breakouts already turned on, go play with that. And if you do this, if you play with any part of this model that I've shared, and of course you got to adapt it, let me know how it goes. Okay. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for all you're doing. You guys, I mean, there's just so much work being done. I've been watching in Facebook groups how people are working together. So collaboration is key right now. So let's, we just got to bring our best selves to this time, this situation. Just like love to all of you. And I'll talk to you soon. That's it. I'm out of here.